Hello, hi. I'm giving you Nashra. I'm giving you Nashra beat, Nashra face. Bonnet. Listen, we're very, very stripped back for today's video essay because the thought of putting on a wig, doing my hair to sit down when 4 people are gonna watch this video, I don't have that in me. I don't have that in me today, okay? So if you're one of my 4 faithful subscribers that are going to watch this video, I appreciate you. You are seen, I see you, just as you see me. Give this video a like for me, identify yourselves. I appreciate you guys, and let's jump in it. We're talking about TikTok, the main character of social media apps right now, okay? Like, she is the main character and she will be respected. Put some respect on her name. TikTok, we're talking about TikTok. I don't know if you've been on TikTok recently, but people are really, when I talk about oversharing, when I talk about trauma dumping, I mean, people are reaching deep for their worst traumas and experiences, sharing them in 60-second long parts and ultimately exchanging it for just a crumb of internet notoriety, you know, hashtag sharing probably some of the worst moments of their lives in the hope of appearing on someone's For You page. This is absolutely not one of those, I don't know what the kids are doing these days. Children of nowadays, it's not one of those for 2 reasons. 1, I too want to blow up on TikTok, okay? I want to grow, I want to kiki with everyone, I want to be in on the joke. 2, I was molded and forged in the storytime era of YouTube when people would literally say any and everything in the hope that it would draw in subscribers. So listen. There's nothing new under the sun, and nothing on this internet can really and truly shock me. All of that being said, this is pretty much what my For You page looks like right now. So tell me why I was rolling down the hill 20 miles per hour. They're out here talking about, okay, and then after before part 53, okay, he literally pulls up my hair from the 5 cars in front of me, right? I cannot, like, you guys would not believe. You would not. My head in cells for 3 days. He said I shouldn't check Twitter. He was like, we're going now, nice day. 72. Guys, I had no idea that my 82-part story about how I was kidnapped while I was on a date with my boyfriend, which was happening 30 minutes before my wedding, and then I woke up in South Africa, and then his sister's grandma was my cousin's uncle's grandma's sister's niece, okay, and she came and got me out, and then we went all I cannot believe that my story, like, blew up. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it blew up. I never thought it was gonna blow up. I never thought it was gonna blow up. Yes, I'm having a laugh. But also, I genuinely watched a 50+ part TikTok story time. That's over 50 60-second TikTok videos. That's nearly an hour. That's nearly an hour of swiping through this lady's harrowing story. It genuinely got me thinking about the role that social media plays in our lives sometimes, and how sort of generations that come up are taught, indoctrinated in some ways to utilize social media. Is this the blueprint we can set and say, this is how you manage trauma and life and experience? I mean, whatever I conclude in this video, I think we can agree that this is not a healthy or sustainable way to navigate social media. As long as there has been social media, there have been discussions about what we should and shouldn't share, how much we share, the format in which we share. Like I said, Storytime YouTube literally existed. Twitter threads breaking down wild stories, live surgery on Snapchat. Should I continue? And this behavior, this mode of sharing, this type of oversharing, sharing too much, was rewarded. They are rewarded in various ways for recounting either their most traumatic moments or for making up the best story. This practice has filtered through several layers, generations of content creators at this point. And you can pretty much now pick up distinct forms of sharing, oversharing on social media. Sometimes you have people who are simply sharing these, like I said, traumatic stories, experiences as a call to action. So for example, victims of crimes and victims of mishandled sort of police investigations who are reaching out and sharing their stories in the hope that they will be able to get some justice, either for them, for a loved one. On more than one occasion, I've come across people sharing family breakdowns and trying to track down, family members, people taking DNA tests only to find out their mum's not their mum, their dad's not their dad, their sister's not their sister, whatever's happened, the whole family break. Then another type of sort of what I would term oversharing is the type of sharing where people are seeking out people with similar experiences. They're searching for validation of their experiences. And I think it's quite important to keep that in mind, that people may be in situations where unimaginable events have happened to them and they're seeking out validation and they're seeking out some kind of respite in knowing either they're not the only one, or finding out how to cope or deal with said traumatic incident. So I think that is probably the one that's most relevant to a lot of forms of sharing on TikTok. Something as simple as breakup TikTok, or the hashtag breakup hashtag on the hashtag breakup hashtag on TikTok, which is literally people sharing their breakups, sharing why their ex is literally Satan, just along those lines. And I think this is very closely tied to a term that I came across when I was doing a little bit of research for this video, which is sadfishing. Sadfishing describes this idea of people who are sharing often exaggerated or potentially not 100% truthful stories in search of sort of attention, effectively, in search of attention, in search of, like I said, community, in search of connection, I think is the best word, in search of connection. I think it's a cry for help, but at the same time, it can also be linked to this idea that people see as the formula to blow. If you have a wild story, a wild life, you share it, you will probably get a lot of eyes on your post. They may not stay, they may not stick around, but for that one post you have some type of virality. And in 2021, virality is currency, numbers in terms of social media, so numbers in terms of followers, in terms of views, in terms of watch time. It is value, even outside of content creators. It's valuable to be seen and be heard for even just that short amount of time that they are viral. I think this is where we land on what I thought, and I'll be very transparent in my process here, what I thought or what I referred to as trauma bonding. Trauma bonding does refer to a relationship which is built on or forged in or a result or consequence of trauma. However, more accurately, it refers to a abused-abuser dynamic. So it's often the bonds and relationships that come when one is subject to repeated abuse and forms an attachment out of that abuse. I think that concept does have some relevance here, and I want to make my point. Here with care, but I think building a relationship of repeatedly sharing a traumatic experience, because often people will share their TikTok and all their content going forward is about said trauma. And I think that repeated attack on the psyche in which you keep sharing this traumatic experience, people that then feel a sort of kinship or bond because of that, it is to an extent capitalizing on a repeated emotional injury, I think is the best way for me to put it. And I don't think I can sort of go further than that without straying into a territory in which I am not qualified to speak. But I think just the toll that it takes to sort of repeatedly absorb someone's trauma, and then because of that form a bond with them and form a relationship, at least in your mind, because often you may not actually have a functioning relationship with this person. They may not reply to your comments, and you've now forged a relationship out of that. But more accurately, I want to use the term shared trauma for the relationship dynamic that I'm describing here, because I think even though, as I just explained, I think trauma bonding does have relevance here, it's not a perfect fit. And I think shared trauma just makes sense with these TikTok story times. And I'm speaking specifically on TikTok here, but as I keep saying, this is something that is a hallmark of how we interact on social media in 2021. Across social media, we are utilizing this tactic of building relationships based on what we share in trauma. What we tend to see in these TikTok comments is people who will relate to the story being told and go on to share their own story. And sometimes you have thousands and thousands of people in the comment section sharing and replying to each other and forming community around the fact that they also too experienced this bad thing and that happened, right? And I think what you tend to find is that we know how the TikTok algorithm functions, right? The TikTok algorithm, you don't need to tell it twice what you like. Like one wrong video and you'll see puppies across your For You page for a week. So you can imagine when you find yourself deep in a community that's created around trauma, you may well have a For You page that consists of you scrolling through story after story. It feels to me like a constant assault on your mental well-being, and something that we really have to be cognizant of, and something that we have to really question if it's a viable way of being, of existing, of living. Whenever I start sounding like I'm giving a primary school assembly, right? I'm giving a PSA to parents. I really take a moment to pause and interrogate whether I am being overly cautious, whether I'm over-analyzing and feeding into the next moral panic and parent hysteria. In preparation for this video, I came across a really interesting article called In Defense of Oversharing on Social Media. And it's not TikTok specific, but as I've reiterated many times throughout this video, I don't think my points are TikTok specific either. And I wanted to pull out this very specific quote to sort of act as a subheading for what I'm discussing in this section of the video, and to sort of signpost my thoughts on defending oversharing on social media. And it went like guys, I'm sorry. Serious. If people are sharing a lot, but they're creating a space they don't otherwise have in their life, then that's amazing and can be integral to their survival. Who am I to judge how people heal and grow and form community and deal with their trauma? One thing that has always fascinated me, and I don't mean to sound hyperbolic in this statement, but genuinely this is the weight of how I feel about the internet, and specifically social media and online community. I find it like I can't fathom the extent to which we have community. As an African woman, as an Igbo woman, I think that some community is something, is a structure that I literally cannot survive without. I think cutting off community from me and cutting off community from our communities, and when I talk about community, I feel like this is a whole nother video, so I'm sorry about this, guys. But when I talk about community, I'm speaking specifically about, and I know that as human beings, we are we are socialized that way. We are social beings, and we need to socially interact. I think there's just a specificity to the type of community that I'm speaking about, and like I said, I feel like that's a whole other video. So I think video essays are kind of my thing now, so I will absolutely add that to the list. And I think the ability of that community to sort of be there for people in a way that their real life family and friends and co-workers and acquaintances cannot be there for them, I think that's something that cannot be undervalued. You know, anthropologists, you know, who stumble across YouTube in however many millennia to come, I think it's so important to note the ability of the internet to connect people who desperately need each other but would have never known of the other's existence without the internet. I think community and the ability to explore ideas that you just never would have been exposed to had you not had the ability to just literally open your phone and go to Google Chrome. Therefore, who am I to now judge the way that people are forming communities? And often communities that could literally be saving someone's life, communities that are giving people access to methods of coping, and, you know, just the sheer knowledge that you're not the only person who experiences what you've experienced. Who am I to take that away from people and say, well, your sharing makes me uncomfortable, your trauma or your experience makes me uncomfortable, and I think you should keep that tucked away? I can't in good faith do that. And I think for all the problems and for all the concerns about oversharing, I think that's probably where I land in this discussion. I'm going to bring us back closer to the surface right now. You know, even for the more sort of shallow reasoning that says, if I share this crazy story time about insert experience, then I am going to gain clout and following from telling this story. For the most part, we know that doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm so sorry about it. I'm so sorry about it. Because at the end of the day, and I think this is the last section and this is the last bit I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go, okay? It's not even good social media strategy. It's just not. Because overwhelmingly, you know, someone's TikTok, you go scroll to the bottom, it'll be like 200 views, 167 views, 600 views, 700,000 views. Oh, she's blown, she's hit the big time, the story's taken off. Then maybe people stick around for the part 2 of the story, right? So you got the next video, 150,000 views. Then the video after that is back to like 139. There are enough sort of where are they now catching up with former memes, formal viral stars, to tell us that just because you hit it once doesn't mean you can sustain or build a following from it. If you're trying to get that story, if you can't even get that, if you cannot even trade your ridiculous story time for a little crumb of clout, then I'm just telling you to reevaluate. Like, just reevaluate. Reevaluate. Ultimately, as I said, this is a tale as old as time itself. People are going to share, overshare, posture for clout, make stuff up, be caught out in their lies. The story times will continue. I know that. Last, I think people just need to take a step back, reevaluate your relationships with people that are formed in shared trauma. Most of us, you know, navigating these platforms are not therapists. We are not people who can provide you the help and support you need. We may just end up creating cycles of codependence and you know, leaving you with unresolved issues as opposed to getting the help that you need. Again, you know, bringing it back to surface level a little bit. You're probably not going to get the clout you were looking for, bro. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You're probably not going to get the clout you were looking for. So just reevaluate if you really want to, you know, Kate, film, one of your worst days. It's not your worst, but one of, top 5 at least, and, upload it to YouTube. Just reevaluate whether you want to actually do that. No. Sorry, we're talking about TikTok here. Let's just leave it out. We're talking about TikTok here. Okay, so I hope you guys are enjoying the video essay format. If you're not, then you better get going, because this is my bag. Commentary, video essay YouTube is my favorite YouTube, and I think I always try to say that I make content that I would watch. And of course, I'm open to suggestions on sort of social media topics, social media, regular media, I mean, like, just life in general. I have a great list of the type of videos and content that I want to film, but I'm always open, like I said, to suggestions and topics, so please do leave that. Like I said, if you grabbed anything, if I'm making a sense, if I'm resonating, then please like the video. And you will probably see me a little bit more done up, a little bit more non-cash, a little bit more hey, in my next video. But I just can't be bothered sometimes, and that's okay too. Normalize not having to dress up to talk to the camera in your room. How about it? How about it? Normalize not having to dress up to sit in front of a camera and speak.